Um, Bobby, I'm not sure where to start with this whole madness. Let's start with this. How did you even hear that there was such a thing called a Peavey drum?
Let's see. I guess I'd heard about the ill-fated run that I maybe was in the either the early 90s or the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You remember that? Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I heard about it in passing, probably after it already happened. But to kind of set the table and give a little context, in 1994, at that point, I was pretty much doing the clinic thing on a full-time basis. Kind of like a clinician, educator, solo artist. I would do shows with my own band. I was out doing clinics, and it was kind of like a year-round thing. There's a kind of, let's just say, a downturn of arena rock as we knew it and loved it in the '80s, going into the '90s, and I kind of had a natural, organic segue into doing this clinician solo artist thing on a full-time basis. So I
I'm
was
going to
just,
interrupt you real quick. When you were with Nelson and Nelson was huge, were you doing clinics during that
yeah,
time?
I
Okay.
started
Okay.
doing them in the mid '80s, right after I got the Vinnie Vincent Invasion gig.
Okay. Okay.
But it was the traveling that I did, that became more of the full time thing. With vans and later an RV and this kind of thing. So essentially, I was out on the road, going to all the different drum shops and music stores and whatnot. And I started hearing about, oh, the Peavey has a new drum kit. I saw like maybe some promotional literature or something. I thought it
Mm-hmm.
was interesting, just the way they looked. Of course, I had my misgivings. Okay, an electronics company now getting involved with drums and all that, but I just kind of started hearing about them. That's all I can tell you.
Okay.
And then one day, I mean, I remember the moment. I was out on the road doing a bunch of Sabian clinics, and we were doing one that was away from the location of the store, which was often the case. We do them at high school auditoriums or other venues, but we stopped by the store for some reason to see the staff before we went over to the venue. And I walked in, I saw one of these Peavey kits right there. It was a plain maple kit. And I looked at it, and it was like, it was shocking to see because it just
Okay.
looked so unconventional, and it was just like
Okay.
a plain maple. And I walked in, and the guy was standing there like that. And I said, "Are these motherfuckers finished? Like, is there the actual, are they?" He goes, "That's how they showed up." I go, "Wow, man!" And there was a pair of like 5A drumsticks on the snare.
All
And
right.
they're like, to me, they're like chopsticks. So I
Right.
grabbed them by
Right.
the tips, like I have the butt in. I go, I
Do
got
you
to hear
get
this thing.
hungry when you see
Yeah,
5A
exactly. Yeah,
drumsticks? Does it make you hungry?
I
Okay.
started dreaming about Chinese food,
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Okay. Okay.
so anyway, so I'll never forget the moment, man. This quiet store. I got to hear these things. And it's like, it's like a five-piece kit. It looked like it had been set up by a guitar player, if you know what I mean.
There you
And I
go.
just went gong, 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 gong. Both racks in the floor, and they just reverberated throughout the store. I'm like, damn, man, these things sound killer. And the snare was the big chopping block style
Yep.
snare.
Yep.
I gave it a nice hard rim shot, crack, crack, like a shotgun, did some Buddy Rich licks on it. And then I stepped forward to the kick. There was no stool behind the kit, so I just stepped right up there, leaned into the kick drum, go, go, just big and resonant. And for anybody here that was a fan of Chick Corea's Return to Forever back in the mid '70s with Lenny White playing drums, my favorite record was Romantic Warrior, and that's what these drums sounded like to me. Which I think rumor has it that Lenny was playing a Gretsch kit, but anyway,
Okay.
long story short, I was sold. I love the sound of the drums. That's what I meant by being sold. Like, yeah, I think this thing is viable. I think these guys are going to be okay. They're going to do okay and whatnot. So then the next thing was maybe a month later. I'd been hearing that Robin DiMaggio had been doing some clinics for Peavey, and he was a friend of mine. So I ran into him at a rehearsal studio in LA about a month later, and without telling him that I played the kit, I go, "Man, what's up with these Peavey drums?" And of course, he started raving, "Oh man, they're killer! You got to check it out, man. They're just getting up and running and all that." And that's when the seed was first planted. Because I guess the reason that I was receptive to another drum company is because for all the years I'd been with Sonar, I loved the drums, but for dragging their kit all over the place because I was taking my gear with me on the ground, either in a van or an RV to all these different places. They were never ones to get involved with any kind of promotional stuff. There was always Sabian clinics and other companies were footing the bill. and kind of like a stock car driver or something, or an indie racer. I mean, we need sponsors. It's expensive to be out there, especially doing the kind of touring I was doing at the time.
Right.
And so that was kind of like, so just, that was kind of like the perfect storm of things that happened where I said, I wonder if it's worth, pursuing a little further now.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Um, so I at Peavey remember being like, did you reach out? Did Peavey did we reach out to you first? Did you who called who? Who made the first move on the first date?
Yeah, I believe I did because I think Robin might have mentioned something to Len McRae, who's artist relations guy, and he just said, call here, call the number, ask for Len McRae. And that's
Okay.
basically what started, man. And I got on the phone with him. He was friendly. He knew who I was, thankfully. And we kind of started talking, and that was just the sort of the beginning of the dialogue there.
Okay. Cool. So it's coming into Summer Nam, which it was Nashville.
Right.
And okay, so Len told me, do you know Bobby Rock is? And I'm like, hell yes. So I'd seen you. So, the Monster Beat, that first video, the Metamorphosis video, that was a thing. Okay. So all my drummer friends had it. Everybody tried to learn those beats. Of course, we would play them, whatever, to some degree of fail. And so we're all aware of that. I mean, for those who don't know, Bobby he must have self-funded somehow to make this VHS video back when there was a thing called VHS. And for those who don't know, VHS used to be a videotape that was analog, if you know what analog means, and you'd put it in a machine and play it, and it would spin in real time. Anyway, I'm kidding, but that videotape did really well. And you were doing a Sonar Clinic in Grand Rapids. I went down to see you, and I'm like, just I saw the whole thing, and I was like, damn. So I was excited to meet you. We hadn't had anybody really signed up for the drums yet as far as what was going to happen. So we went to Third Encore, which is a big rehearsal place in Nashville, and you were doing a photo shoot for community speakers. Am I right?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, so I went in there and met you at that photo shoot because we used that as a meeting place because it could be like secret because it was at NAMM, but it was off site and you were already there and that sort of stuff. So, right.
What was so bizarre about the situation is I had a deal with Community Speakers. I was one of their endorsement people, and we had planned this photo shoot long in advance. And they had arranged to have some Sonar drums there because that's what I was playing at the time. But we were kind of deep into the negotiations midsummer, and so when I went to Nashville, I had to do photos with both drums depending on where things wound up.
Ah, I forgot about that.
It's either going to stay with Sonar or it's going to go with Peavey. I mean, it's a big decision because I mean, I've never wanted to be one of these guys who jumped around from company to company to company. I had never changed any of my endorsers at that time. It'd been probably almost 10 years that I started like with ProMark, Sabian, Aquarian, DW pedals. I had all the same roster, Latin percussion, and Sonar drums. So anyway, it was a big decision, and so I just kind of, it's like, depending on how, I just want to have the option of, I didn't want to take photos with Sonar and then a month later announce that I had just moved on with Peavey. So that's kind of like how that came to be.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, so we met. You put up with me. I mean, like that. I mean, just a crazy, whatever. And the crazy thing now, it's like, 2025. See, was that 95?
It was 1994, summer 90 is July of 94. I remember everything, brother.
So that's an unbelievable amount of years ago. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. So
30,
yes,
over 30.
yeah, over 30 years ago. So yeah, and we're still thinking and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, and on like the Beyond piece, I'm Reward Music's our thing now, and you're on that platform and all that sort of stuff. So you come in, all that stuff's going on. Of course, we had to. Everything was new for us. We were like just getting started. The say this right. The Peavey setting up the factory thing was taking a lot longer than I'd hoped for. Okay. Maybe I was being unrealistic, but I was hoping that we were a lot farther. So, I remember like you wanted, did we make you 26 kicks then or 20?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
the first kid had them. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I was doing. I had a Sonar quadruple bass drum kit, two 24s, two 26s on the
Okay.
outside,
So,
and
so I remember things like that. Like we hadn't made a 26, so we had no plan making a 26 in production. Bobby wants a 26, you know. So it's like, well, let's see, how do we respond? Fuck off, maybe, or we could build some, you know. I mean,
Right.
like stuff like that. So I mean, it was a little bit of you know, just getting it all ready, and so like that. And when you were you on the tour with someone like, or like what was going on, and what do we have to get them ready for?
Yeah. So for many of the tours I did, certain tours I did throughout the 90s, sometimes I'd travel by myself, just, myself and a two-man crew, or
Okay.
sometimes I'd have a band with me. And the concept was, I started doing this back in 1990. I would take a band on the road. I'd bring with me to the clinics, and then on the off days, which were usually Fridays and Saturdays, were not big clinic days. We try to book club shows, and
Was
that's
some guy
how
named, don't mean to cut you, was some guy named Brett in that band?
Yeah. So Brett Garson,
He's on the,
art,
I'm saying that because I see Brett on the, Brett's on the pod, on the Zoom. He's there. He's here tonight. So
Brett Garson
yeah. Yep.
is
Yeah.
with us right now.
Yeah. Let me, yeah. Unmute. Can I,
Kidding me.
yeah, I'm going to ask him to unmute. So come on. So yeah. Brett,
Brett Garson is on the Zoom. I wonder
Hey,
what time it is where he
Holmes.
is. Where's my brother?
Can't you
There he
see me?
is. What's up,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen? The
Just
one and only.
check my Facebook, and the notification came up, so I thought I'd join in. Yeah, it's only
Oh
it's
my
only
God. Ladies and gentlemen,
11:45 here.
what time is it?
11:45 a.m. So
AM.
it's
So Brett's in
reasonable.
Australia right now. And the quick backstory is in 1989, I was playing with the Nelson brothers. We were just about to work on our first record, and our manager was from Australia and said, "Man, there's this kid over here. We got to get in this band." And that was Brett Garson. He flew all the way over, joined the band. And so what would happen, of course, he did the first record. He did all the records. He did all the tours and everything. He was a band member like I was. But on the side, I had convinced Brett to come out and do some of the initial recordings, the initial drum clinics and all that, along with my former college roommate, Carl the Fox Carter. So it was a power trio. And one day, Carl was in LA. He was the East Coast guy, and I had a drum clinic booked somewhere in San Diego. I go, guys, come with me to this clinic. I just put some jams together. We did some instrumental versions of like Walk This Way from Aerosmith. We did Frankenstein. We did the instrumental stuff. We went down, did the clinic, and went over like gangbusters. And that's how the initial seed was planted to try to do clinics with band guys as I could. So, Stephen, to answer your question, 5 years later, or 4 years later, we were in the middle of a kind of another clinic slash club tour in the RV, cruising around, just trying to make it happen. And we had a gig booked in Nashville the night of that photo session. So we did the photo session during the day. Then you guys all the Peavey guys came out and saw us play that night at that
at
club.
that club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely remember that. So sorry, I didn't mean to. I had to get
Oh, I
acknowledged,
didn't know
Brett.
he was on here, man. The main man,
So all right. So
my
there,
brother.
all right. That's cool. That's very cool. So, all right. Do we get back into it from there? So we got started with there, and then when you came in, I know you really wanted to do clinics, and you're really good at clinics. So that was always the thing for you. Being on stage, educating, getting, just that whole thing that you do. So it became, let's do clinics. So where we were, did you always travel with a trailer? How did the rock? Let's talk about the transition into Rock Across America.
Well, honestly, the whole deal was predicated on this idea that I would do at least 50 clinics a year, minimal for you guys. It was a 3-year deal.
That's right. Okay.
And part of the lure of it all, the lure was that, I had an RV. I was renting a trailer at the time, but you guys provided me with a PV trailer with the paint job and all that. And I was, have drums will travel. I'd been doing it for several years consistently at that point. And it was just, and that's one of the things that really, I think, made it a match made in heaven. I was someone who could really use the support of a company that had that network of stores that could book the stuff and all that. You guys could really use somebody to help go out there and launch
Well,
a new.
there's a big gain for Peavey there too, because I mean, Peavey made everything when when the drums came in, that completed the audio chain. Okay,
Right,
from
right, right. Yeah,
so from
yeah.
guitar picks to massive peak, great big CS, I don't know how big the CS 800 line, whatever kind of amps they got into at one point, lots and lots of watts. But anyway, had the whole thing, so they could show off the mics, the PA, and the whole thing. And then once you put the band together, with the super famous Neil Zaza and Bill, like that, in Bill Dickens. Like once you got that, then all the Peavey stuff was on stage. So the Wolf games are focused and all that sort of stuff. And I believe Peavey had. I may not be right at this, but I think Peavey had like 1,200 dealers at that point, which is amazing because there aren't 1,200 dealers left in America,
I know,
right?
man. Yeah.
That sort of thing. But so that just launched. So yeah, we had the trailer, we had the whole thing. It was a Rock Across America tour. We had someone kind of dedicated to it in the company. There was an inside person. It was almost a full-time job, moving you, scheduling those clinics, getting it all
Yeah,
going.
Angela wound up doing it, right? I think.
Yep. Angela
Angela.
Dean. Yep. So we were doing that, and then, I mean, like the dealers loved it. Everybody, it just worked. It's one of those things where everybody said, "Hey, let's do a thing. It'll be cool." And like, how many of those really work? Like this thing really worked. I
It
mean, it
really
drew.
did. And I should point out that although I was contracted to do 50 dates, I did 110 shows in 1995 for 110 clinics. The first year was just me with my tech Cubby and Jonas Mann, who we called Wall Street. It was just me, Cubby, and Wall Street out there, doing this all over North America, man. 7, 8 months out of the year. It
So
was
110 times, 100, 510.
110.
110. So yeah, 110 times that kit gets set up and torn down. Oh my
Yes,
God.
yes.
Yeah. And you've had the same drum tech for like since Nelson?
Since Vinny Vincent Invasion, yeah,
Since
Cubby
Vinny.
started with me in 1988. So that was, we weren't even 10 years working together at that point, but it was.
So Brett knows Cubby.
Oh yes, man, he could do a
Okay.
great Cubby impersonation also.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. So that's okay. John Anning's got his hand up. Let's let John in for a second here.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in here a little because it was those clinic tours were a little bit like guerrilla warfare. I mean,
Hey,
it
John, I'm
wasn't
cutting you off. Okay, just to let everybody know, John was
okay.
Peavey rep, Northern California. So I just everybody knows like John's angle here is that being the Peavey rep, and so that's where John's coming from. Sorry, John. So let everybody know
No,
who
no,
you
and I'm
are.
a drummer
Okay.
and I love drums. And the first time I saw Bobby, first time I ever saw your name and picture was at Wagstaff Music in Salt Lake City, and you were going to be doing a clinic, and I didn't quite overlap. And I saw this guy, amazing hair, like, and his name is Bobby Rock. And I'm going, who is this guy? And they go, oh God, he's incredible. So I didn't really know, but we all have a picture of what a rock star's like, right? So we meet Bobby, intersect on the road, and he had a fairly small RV, had Cubby, and he had this trailer full of drum stuff. But they weren't getting high and drunk. They had a blender. They were making like these health shakes, right? And they have a weight bench. I mean, it's like there's this
Yep, yep.
music store. You're going on in an hour and a half, and Bobby's like, you know, making his special green drinks and stuff. So I'm going, this guy is the word I was going to use is you're nonconformist. I mean,
Right.
Bobby, you're a nonconformist as a player. You're a nonconformist in terms of equipment. You were willing to not go, well, nobody else has these drums. I don't think I should either. And everything about it. So here I am dealing with somebody who's so easy and straightforward. And then Cubby was assembling the drum set was perfect and beautiful. A lot of the hardware, though, was kind of falling apart. So like, I believe there were times that were like there was a vice grip keeping the cymbal stand from just like, collapsing.
Right.
But it was just a really exciting, great time. Sometimes inside of a little music store, I remember the only thing I remember going, do we have to mic the whole kit inside this store? I'm going, holy shit. But we also played, like, I remember in Fairfield, California, playing at like the courthouse square
Courthouse. Oh, on the
outside.
outside, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And people came out. I found in California where there's so much to do all the time. Sometimes it was the smaller towns, more rural towns. Man, when people could come out and hear something like this, they came out. Like I could get the better attendance sometimes outside of the city center.
Yes.
And the last thing I would say is I totally concur about the idea of clinician, educator, and solo artist. There's a lot of really good musicians that aren't good clinicians. They
Mm,
don't know how to make you feel good about the company, and they don't know how to expand you as a player. That's not their
right,
goal. It's like,
right, right, right,
and
right.
so you always hit all those things and really were an asset to everyone who ever heard you, you know?
I appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, you mentioned the small places. One of the things that I loved about touring on the ground is just by because like usually you fly the guy in, you pick him up at the airport, and there's a certain just bare bones price you have to have just to cover all these expenses. And in our case, but we were already traveling through the small town. Like we would route the tour accordingly. So it was easy for us to go and get into these B and C markets. And I loved it, man, because they never got anything. The big cities always got the big guys, Dennis Chambers back then, Terry Bozzio, all Dave Weckl, which is great. But they never went to the smaller places, couldn't always afford them or wasn't always logistically possible, or these guys only had, room in their schedule to do 8 clinics that year or whatever. So that was a big draw, I think, for Peavey as well. We could literally go anywhere. Like when they talk to you, they go, "Well, he's going to be in Northern California, John. During this week and a half period. Just he's coming up from the south. He's going to wind up going to the northeast after he's done with you. Just book it like a tour. Okay, I'll start him here, then we'll go up over there, and we try to get the
Right.
routing like that. And it worked great.
There was one other thing that made it unique, just telling you guys that maybe, aren't in the biz, is that let's say, when Steve Gadd does a Zildjian clinic or a Yamaha clinic, they basically require the dealer to buy the Gadd kit, which we all know what
Right.
that looks like. It's a
Yeah.
conventional in the catalog kit. If you have Stanton Moore, there's a Gretsch kit that's a Stanton Moore kit, and a dealer will look at that kit and go, okay, well, I'll get one of those then.
Right.
But the Bobby Rock touring kit that I knew and loved was not available at any store at any price.
Right.
So it also allowed a smaller dealer to have an incredibly impressive thing without
Right.
this giant investment. They didn't have to
Right.
buy
Right.
a double kit that they'd never be able to sell.
Double
So they
kick,
got
John. Double kick.
Yeah. Yeah.
no,
Quadruple.
no. I think the touring. No, no. I think the clinic kit was 2, but was it 4?
It
No,
was
it's four.
four.
Oh
Always
yeah,
four.
Holy,
always
Yeah.
four. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I
and
know. And by the
I
way,
loved it
I'll
because
say one last thing, and that's whenever I see a kit, your kit or Bozio's kit, I always think it's the mother of the bride going, "Are you guys going to do a dinner set?"
right, right, right. Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna mute.
All right. That's all cool. So it was great. I mean, man, Bobby's on the road, he's doing all these shows. And then I remember, I don't know, Bobby, this is kind of a weird thing to talk to you, but just how hard it is and what it's like life on the road. When you had the big tour going, I was in Frankfurt, Germany at the Music Messe with Peavey's massive booth over there, and that show was long. We were over there a long time. And we get the call that you had a little event happen in the middle of the night. Do you
Oh
want to,
yes.
yeah,
Oh man. So again, the context here is that this was February 27th of 1997. And
how
so
does he
this
do that, by the way? Ladies and gentlemen, how does he do that? Okay.
I have a knack for remembering trivial things, But I'll tell you, man, so the first 2 years I was with Peavey, it was all solo stuff. I just traveled by myself with the 2-man crew. We went over the place 95, 96. 97 was the coming out party for the Rock Across America tour with band, and this is the one where I had Neil Zaza and Bill the Buddha Dickens on board. And we were and I bought a brand new RV. Because now it's time to bite the bullet, make the investment. I needed more room. I needed something more reliable. So brand new RV, brand new everything. I had my Sistine Chapel kit in their cases, and I had an old friend from Houston who I'd done some early tours with that said, "Hey, listen, could I hitch a ride?" Because we had to drive from LA to Atlanta to start the tour. So he said, "Listen, I'll help you guys drive between LA and Houston, whatever you need, and then you guys drop me off there, and you guys can continue on to Atlanta." And this guy had always been a reliable driver on those early tours, so I said, "Sure, come along." So he joined us on the trip, and so we drove all day, and sometime in the evening, maybe 7, 8 o'clock, he took over driving. And as it started getting late, midnight plus, We were all, everybody else was asleep. There's 5 others. There's 6 total people in the RV. He was driving. Everybody was asleep. And I wake up to this sort of jolting and jarring, almost like I felt like I was in a dryer or something. And I think I said something like, "Holy shit," or "What the fuck," or because everybody remembered. That was the last thing everybody heard was me crying out, like, responding to it. And what had happened was the driver had fallen asleep at the wheel, drove off the road, hence the and all that. And then when he tried to correct and pull back on the road, he basically jackknifed the trailer into a guardrail, and the RV went rolling end over end 4 times before finally stopping on the side of the road there. Essentially, everything about the RV came to pieces, and everybody who was
So
in it
this
was,
is this is not like a minivan. This is a 44-foot.
yeah, whatever, a 38 footer or
Okay,
something like
40.
that.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
pulling a 26, 28-foot trailer, right?
trailer,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
and it
okay,
was
and
like,
loaded to the hilt because you guys
yes,
carried your own PA and stuff at that point, right?
yes, we had
Yeah,
all of that stuff and
yeah,
all
yeah.
the,
So you couldn't their PA was so big that we couldn't rely on the PV dealers having it all in stock. So you were taking your big subs and
yeah.
like
Well,
that.
at that point, we probably hadn't packed out the trailer like we would
Oh,
eventually.
okay,
Yes, we had a
okay,
trailer full of
okay.
gear, absolutely. But the thing about the RV is it was brand new, and when you looked at it, I mean, it just looked like a tornado hit it. And in fact, so we were all spilled out on the side of the road, and what wound up happening is an ambulance and a helicopter showed up. So the helicopter life flighted 3 of us to one place, and the other 3 of us got in an ambulance and went to a local military hospital. They just had to get us to 2 different facilities as close as we could. And we heard later that when the highway patrol showed up, when he surveyed the wreck, he said, "Were there any survivors?" That's what he said, man. That's how bad it was. And so what followed? So everybody made it. We took our bumps and bruises. There was a broken ankle here and broken ribs there and this kind of thing. But remarkably, everybody turned out okay. But we had to go right into a 12-week suspension of the tour, recovery period, and all that. I got the RV had to be obviously completely replaced. It was people rehabbing and doctors, and it was just an absolute mess. We talked about a tour starting off with a bang. That was
Yeah, we had
literally
the whole
what
thing
it was.
planned and booked. It took months to get it all queued up.
It was just a mess,
Yeah.
but we ended up kicking right back off again 3 months later, a
I,
brand
I
new
do
RV.
remember both you and Zaza telling me, freeway, rolled the RV 4 times, life helicoptered out, on and on
Yeah.
and on. But you said the worst part was the catheters.
Catheter. Yeah, but Zaza and I were at a military hospital, and I heard him in the next thing over there going, ah, ah. I'm going, like, what the hell is wrong with Zaza? And all of a sudden, a male nurse comes in there. I'll never forget. He comes in, pulls the sheet down, says, "Sorry, bro," grabs my Johnson and just inserts this fucking catheter. I mean, it's inhumane, man. It's just inhumane. But they said they had to do it because they didn't know the extent of the internal injuries, and they were afraid that we would that the swelling would, anyway. So
There you
that
go.
was, yeah,
For those
that was
all those that dialed in tonight, you didn't know you'd be hearing about that. So
the music biz, man. You hear about everything.
the music business, that comes down to all the yeah, Hartley Peavey told me once. He said nothing's gonna happen to you in the music industry that a 3-hour shower won't wash off.
That's largely true, I suppose.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, um, so there we go. So there's the tour, all that sort of stuff, and then it goes on. It goes on from there. I mean, you were with Peavey. It was 10 years. I was there. It goes from there, and then as we all know on the forums and all that sort of stuff, Peavey got a whole bunch smaller, and made the adjustments they did, and I like that when Peavey's on their path to where they are now, where they're a whole bunch smaller. And so then it went from there. I mean, I don't say, like, the weird thing is we never lost touch. I left there to start what is now this company, 22 years ago. And then you were a man without a country then, because we still had the drums, but you
Right.
played just those for a long time, right?
I mean, my contract was up right at the first of '98. Uh, but I stuck around, and so '98 was a really tough year. But '99 into 2000, uh, it wasn't. It got to a point to where the status of the drums was kind of questionable, and there wasn't the full promotional pitch behind it. So I went, but this is kind of like how I was earning a living at the time. I had this system for going out and doing the clinics. A lot of store owners wanted to have me, so I ended up getting just like a regular booking agent guy who booked me for a couple of years, and he would
Okay.
just cold call these stores and all that. I mean, it was a rough piecemeal kind of existence. In 2000, I got the Gary Hoey gig, so I kind of had that gig that I was working in addition to doing the clinics and all that. But I hung in. I kept that. At that point, I started with the maple kit, then I got into the Sistine Chapel kit, and then I got into the purple monstrosity that I still have, that I still play some version of. And that was the one I was touring with throughout those later years of doing it. But eventually, by the time we hit 2002, 2003, I mean, just the wheels, we got into a different era. That phase of, clinics and appeal of clinics and all that was kind of dwindling some. And I just feel like I rode it out until the wheels fell off pretty much.
Yeah, the whole clinic business went away. I mean, it
Right, right,
basically
right, right.
almost doesn't exist now, and it was
Yeah,
such a thing. I mean, it was
really
such a
was,
thing,
man.
and it's like Anning will talk about. I mean, it was for guitar players and bass players and keyboardists. I mean, everybody, it's what was, it's what Billy Sheehan did. It's what like all the, it's like everybody did. It was a thing. So,
And the thing I just want to point out real quick, maybe obvious to many of our viewers here tonight, but it's like back then, remember there was no social media, there was no YouTube, even video technology on a laptop was a rare thing in the late '90s. It just
mhm.
did, you had these small shitty clips, and it just wasn't. There wasn't a way to sort of project what you did out to the world in mass like we can now. It wasn't remotely like that. So if you wanted to go watch a badass drummer, you had to actually get in a car and drive out either to see a club show or a clinic at the music store was a good opportunity to see one of your favorite players up close and personal doing their thing and all that. So it had real value, I think, for those who wanted to see good
Wanted to
playing,
do it.
learn
Got it.
firsthand and all that.
Do we want to talk a little more about what's going on? We want to talk? Do you want to take a question? What do you think?
Yeah, whatever you think. Like, I don't know who all we have with us, so I know we wanted to focus on the Peavey era of the drums and the drum tours and all that because it was just such a unique, moment in time and whatnot. But yeah, I'm open to wherever you want to take it.
I see I see Frank's on. He's right. I got there's a few dozen people. There's like 20, in here, but I see Frank just happens to be right in the middle of my screen. Like, do you have? I'll put you on the spot, Frank. You're waving. Do you got a? Can I put you on the spot and ask you a question out of the blue, and we'll try and get to everybody. So
Sure. Question about the Bobby Rock snare.
Yeah,
Um, we know there are not very many of them out there, maybe four. And in the brochure, it shows that triangle-shaped logoed badge,
yeah.
but we've never actually seen that badge anywhere except in the brochure. Either one of you guys have any info on that?
I don't have any of those. So one thing I want to bring up. I wish he was able to be here both times, but there's a guy named Tom Ritzkers. I know you guys talk to him sometimes,
Yes.
or whatever like that. Tom's not in the music industry anymore, and he's doing real well outside of the industry. But I just want to say that Tom was my right hand during all this, and so many things would have never happened. Tom built. Well, he built always all of Bobby's kits, but he really built that the blue purple thing. I don't, we never could figure out what color that thing was. Depends on where you're standing. But like
Yep.
Tom, Tom made all that, was responsible for that. Like the finish on that. Tom was amazing. But so we worked on the Bobby Rock snare. Peavey had put in this new powder coat line, and you could do all sorts of stuff. We always wanted to get into powder coated hardware. So the idea of this hybrid deal with wood bridges in the metal shell and that powder coated thing, because that was like the powder coat was pretty cool because it still sounded like a metal snare, but it didn't really have a lot of overtone ring to it. It was like a really cool thing. We did have problems in production making, so it's like a 500 series snare drum. It's made the same way. But we had a hard time getting it all to stick together and stay together. And so we were working on that, and then I can't re this is where I wish Tom was here because Tom has a memory like Bobby, and how the heck how does the inventor not have the memory of all this? Because the thing is, what had happened to me, Tom ultimately kind of took over all the drum stuff. Not kind of actually became the product manager for the drums, and I'd moved into the marketing artist relations role. And Tom had his fingers in the soup, more than me, but we worked out that snare drum. But I know we never got it right. But I guess that's why we didn't release it. Like, why didn't Bobby? Does your Super Braid remember why we never went into production with that?
I think it was a project that because it was part of the original contractual agreement that I'd have as a signature snare. And I just think with all the tours and the prioritizing the kits and all that, that it just kind of got into the second year, then it got into the third year. Now, having said that, the Frank, the prototype that I have, the first one they sent me, this snare was a motherfucker, man. I mean, this thing, it was just a plain maple bridge with like a gold, brass looking
That was a
shell.
solid brass shell. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
video. There's a video of that clinic where you hold it up and show it to everybody, saying this is going to be my new signature
Oh,
snare
okay,
for
okay.
Peavey.
So that snare was remarkably durable. I did my out of body solo, record with that. I did sessions with it. I don't remember how much I had it on the road. Maybe because I know once I got into the Sistine Chapel kit, it had its own special snare.
Right.
Anyway, it was a great snare, and it wasn't until a number of years later that the bridge separated from the body. It was a sad day, but even that one happened. So that bridge separated, and that's when we knew there was some kind of production issue. Now, having said that, when I got my purple kit, that had the Bobby Rock snare. I still use it to this day. It is a badass snare. I use it on what I call the alphabet side of the kit. It sounds killer. It's been great. Now, the other snare you're talking about with the triangle thing, I have one of those snares. It's beautiful, but yes, it has a removable top. So
Yeah.
I think what happened is there was a production thing, and one time several years back, Volpe and I talked to this. I don't know if you remember this, but you showed me, you shared with me some documents that talked about the financial commitment and the logistics and all these things behind like the behind the scenes accounting for
Mhm.
what it takes to launch a drum and the testing and this, that, and the other. And it was an astoundingly high number. Like I had no idea that it was this expensive to do. So I just think my recollection is that eventually it just kind of it never materialized. By the time we got towards that third year, the latter part of the third year, frankly, I feel like we felt like, man, I've been out on the road. We've been killing ourselves this thing for the last few years, and the drums just aren't taking hold. The sales aren't where we anticipated them being, and whenever that happens, somebody in accounting speaks up and says, "Guys, how long are we going to keep dumping this kind of money into trying to elevate the drum kit into the stature of some
And
of our other
and while
lines?"
the sales thing is true, the one irony was we were always back ordered. Like
You
we
couldn't get them
never.
in the stores, yeah, which perpetuated the issue of sales. So that's something that was frustrating for us because
Yes.
we'd be on the road doing a clinic. Because, wow, the drums sound great. Where can I get one? And the store owner said, "Well, we have two on back order right now." So there was a lot of chicken and
Yeah,
egg
it was
thing.
a very much, for the Wharton Business School side of how it all works. We were underselling and underproducing at the same time for the whole time.
Right, right,
Ooh.
So
right, right.
so it was always a thing. Another thing was the like I mean I was really young. Okay, so like that's the thing. It's like it's hard. It's almost a lifetime ago. And there's a lot of things did wrong or didn't understand, whatever you want to think about, but. Um, there was no art like the way Peavey was built. There's like analog engineering. There's all the famous guys like James Brown who did the 5150 with Eddie Van Halen, and Jack Sondermeyer, who's rest in peace. Well, he's dead. Jack's been gone a long time, but Jack developed the like staples of the music industry, like the the XR600 mixer, the cell powered mixer. Everybody had those, and the CS800 power amps. They've done all those things, and they build them in engineering. They get them engineered. They take them to the factory. They build them. So with that kind of mindset, and that's how Peavey did it, I show up and they're like, okay, this drum idea is perfect. It's all engineered. It's all. I had the packaging and everything all done, certified, like UPS, FedEx, all this drops, like the product test, box dropping to all testing, had every single thing done. But what that meant was there was never like a drum shop. I didn't have as much as a screwdriver to my name, as there was not a bench or a place. There was no place for Tom and I to like work. So for us to do R&D or do anything, it became super expensive because we had to, it was like all inside of the box, the production things and all that sort of stuff. So we were a drum company. We were like the only drum company that there was nothing around. And once production moved to this town called Leakesville, Mississippi, which was
Right.
90 miles away from Meridian, where Peavey's home front was, and it's all 2-lane roads. It took hours and hours to get down there. And once it moved there, we were a long way. I was probably 2.5 hours of driving away from a drumhead.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
okay, I mean, so that there was, that might now out of what we call Plant 17, which is this big 80,000 square foot beautiful training facility and stuff like that. I mean, there was drums out there and there's things like that. But if I needed new heads or anything, any parts from there, I had to order them through a procedure of the company, and then fill out paperwork, and then a few days later, they would move up or whatever like that. But back
Right.
to
Right.
Ritzker's, just to put him in like that, Tom was so committed to the drums that they built an apartment in this little town. Leakesville was in a county of 6,000 people, not a town. I mean, LA has what, 1.1 million people in LA County? I think there's over a million people in Los Angeles County.
Oh, way
Uh,
more than that, man. I think
oh,
it's insane
oh,
numbers.
excuse me,
Yeah.
it's 10. I'm sorry, it's 10 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are more people in LA County than there are in the state of Michigan. Sorry, it's 10 million. Yeah. So Bobby lives, you don't live there now, but you spent his life in a county of 10 million people. The drum factory was in a county of 6,000 people. So I mean, it was that it
Right.
was
Crazy,
it was,
man.
it was a whole different world. So those are the things like I remember when I did a back before Zoom or anything, years ago, back when there were PV Paloozas in Memphis. I did one of these to 80 you guys or something, whatever technology we could band-aid together to do this. And one of the questions I got asked was, why do some of the drums have silver badges and why do some of the drums have gold badges? What does that mean? And the thing is, there are no gold badges. They're all silver badges. But like PV purchasing found a way to buy cheaper badges in China, and they had no UV protection. So the silver badges from China would turn gold after a year because they would just fade super fast. So it's
and
like,
deteriorate tremendously too.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that
Interesting.
was like that. But I don't want to turn this into an anti-PV festival, but
Yeah.
somebody at Peavey got incentivized. Somebody got a chocolate chip cookie for saving 2 nanopennies on that. I mean, as
Yeah.
opposed to right. And those are the things that were. If we were a dedicated drum company, you'd always have like this passion for like doing everything. You'd want a quality thing when so if we wanted to if we were going to put Frank's name on a drum, you wouldn't skip on the badge. It's like you built this with your heart and soul. Frank would put the Frank badge on. That thing would be badass. Like that's your thing. So like, it's really a metaphor for kind of the whole thing, that like skimping on the name, skipping on the badge, what the whole thing is really a metaphor for kind of what it was always like there. I mean, what it was like. So I don't know. It's a fire and ice thing. I don't want to make tonight be about me. This is really, we got Bobby here. I'll shut up and get Bobby talking
Yeah.
again. But like the
Um,
whole thing's a very
We
fire. Go ahead.
we
Go ahead.
love that 13 snare. I love it. I have one, Durrell, who has the Sistine Chapel kit. He's on here. He's got one.
How many
I
kits
don't-
do you have?
How many kits do I have?
Yeah.
I have 2 Endorsey kits. I have the Tommy Muggs Kane Endorsey kit,
Okay.
and I also have Robin DiMaggio's yellow kit.
Okay.
And then I have 3 of the 5th anniversary kits. So
So
I had
on the mugs thing,
Yeah.
this is a touchy subject to talk about. Maybe I shouldn't bring
Sorry.
this up. No. But I don't know. But um, there's a Jeffrey Epstein Netflix documentary, and in that documentary, there's Epstein in Prince Andrew, and they're standing in the background is a Peavey kit. and
Yep.
Damn.
I've always wanted to know, who's that is, and um, so
It's
that's so
it's
that's
a white PV kit, and there are not many of those because there was some kind of recall on the original white RBS ones. And then, yeah, um, I've had that same question. Is that your kit in the background? I'm like, if it is, I wasn't there. But it's also in the Journey.
oh yeah, I
The,
forgot about that.
it's
The
in the
Journey
Journey
documentary.
documentary at about 12 minutes when the guy from the Philippines is trying out. It's in the background there in Jonathan's studio. But not about mugs. I hunted that DiMaggio kit, that yellow one, for a long time, and finally got it from Paul, who Robin gave it to for the charity group. They were trying to educate children for music,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I ended up with it finally, which I love it too.
That's cool.
But we
That
like,
was
you
Tom
know,
Ritzker's first kit. That was
yeah,
that was Tom Ritzker's first
man,
kit. So
it's
hey,
it's sweet. It's kind of like your kit, Bobby. It has unique sizes. You know, it's got
Cool.
some sixes and some other unique things. But I think Thomas calls that the kit you still have, the purple kit, the chameleon.
yes,
Right.
yes, that's it.
Chameleon.
That's it.
That was the
And
name of the
Yeah,
paint.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
an
yeah, we
automotive
all,
paint that's called Chameleon. Yeah.
and every one of us PV guys, long for the day when you decide to liquidate that thing.
yeah.
Oh.
Which will be
Oh.
never, right?
Um,
It's like when I'm going to sell some of mine, never. But I know Durrell enjoys the Sistine Kid. He plays it regular. I know he's on here.
Cool.
He might want to come off
Bro,
mute and
what's
have a
up?
question or two for you.
What's up, my man?
Go ahead, Daryl.
mm,
Gotcha. How you doing?
Hey,
um,
what's happening?
Oh, not a whole lot. Hold on.
Steven?
Yeah, hold on, Brandon. Daryl's gonna talk now. Okay, can you go back
Okay.
on mute, Brandon?
Go ahead,
All
Daryl.
right. So, what do you think? Something like this, maybe?
There it is.
Whoa.
What's funny
Nice.
about that is of all the shows we did at all the places, there was one gig we did at a school where they complained about that
Yeah.
because we're like, man, this is like biblical. What are we afraid of here? But yes, sir, man.
Yep. I have actually. The crazy thing is depending upon the gig and where we're at, I actually will rotate the drum so that the breast will actually be behind where your where the tom mount is, so that it's not seen. That, or either we'll have to take a post-it note for family friendly type events. But yeah,
But I mean, this is, I mean, it is at the Vatican. This is Michelangelo. I mean, they do understand that, right?
that's right. So I painstakingly I actually bought a book. I paid like $150 for it, and it has every image from the Sistine Channel. So I'm Sistine Chapel. So I painstakingly searched every single image off the whole thing, pulled up the photographs out of the book, and then put the story with that. So every image now has a story to go with it of why
Nice.
it was on the chapel. So and when I spoke with John about it, when I spoke with John Douglas about it, he thought at that time that there was really no rhyme or reason why they were picked, and he wasn't quite sure that all the images came off the Sistine Chapel.
Right.
But after doing the research, it's 100%. So
Nice. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that. I remember he told me, I go, because I pointed a couple out. He goes, I'm pretty sure that was from the Sistine Chapel.
Yes, and the other crazy thing, because I talked to John about him theming 4 drum heads to match the front heads to match the kit. But then I see a photo. You actually had a marbleized front head to match. So I never even knew that existed until I stumbled across the picture.
I always presumed they stayed with the kit. Those
No,
marble
I
ones,
don't.
they didn't, huh?
No, and I don't know. Again, I got him from Sully,
Right.
and then and I know he had went to. Um, I think Sully went to Aquarian, and I guess he changed everything over at that point.
Right, right.
So, but I don't know what happened to the four original marble ones. But John gave me. He said he would have to get his in order to do it. He wanted to get his mindset back into that era of what was
Right.
going on and try to produce something. And I think he gave me a price like $250, which was very affordable for what it would be. But I never actually went through. I said, well, it's not going to be original to the kids, so I'd rather keep everything original. And I am so meticulous with this thing as far as any damage that was done to it was done prior to me getting it, as far as scratches, scuffs, or any. Nobody touches it, nobody handles it. I'm OCD. So yes.
That's cool.
Cool.
That's cool. All right, man. It's great. It's great.
Nice.
It's great hearing from you. I want to. I know Ron's a big part of this forum too. I want to get him on. I did one thing I just want to do real quick. You brought your drum up. I was going to do this. I showed this one. I did this other one, but this is the very first snare drum. This is the very first drum. This is the first drum ever. This is the first Stephen Volpp drums. To be Peavey drums ever made. It's got
Wow.
so yeah. This is literally number one. I had no idea if it would work or anything. The straight I had a Ludwig Acrolite, like one of the like those entry level snare drums that weren't cool, and now they're super cool. Now they're worth money, whatever. Okay, so that's the strainer off my Acrolite snare drum, and that's okay. All right, so and that's the Ludwig. Okay, so I just slapped that on there,
Wild.
and so I didn't know if this was going to work. Because like all of us, like, oh, that's a great idea. I have a great idea. Of course it's going to work, but you don't know. Okay, so and I didn't have any lugs. So what I did was, so if I turn this, you can see that there's actually, instead of 8 holes, there's 16. Okay, so where the big hole was, that's where there'd be I bought long tension rods to go through it. Okay, and then I went down to the hardware store, just got nuts. So I'd put a nut on here, and then two net from the top, and then this one would be the small where the rod would go through. Okay, so because each side, like a normal drum, you've got your lug on the top, and then I'll get my cameras backwards here, and then you lug on the bottom. Okay, so you top and bottom, but with the way I did it, it was just each one was its own nut and bolt, right? So I had to have 16 of these, and then when it's together, I should just put some hoops on it to put it back together. But when it's together, so the tension rods are every other. So it's like, so like a normal drum would be like
Right,
this.
right, right.
When it's together, it looks like that. Okay, so instead of the tension rods being like this, it's like this. But anyway, this is number one. This is so Daryl's talking about stuff he's never gonna, like everybody that's calls like, I got my thing I'm never gonna sell. This would be it. So that's I still have that, and I keep it close. It's like I had it in the other room, and I should have got in here for that. I just kind of wanted to show that because that's number one. So, and the thing is, in my mind, I knew the kicks and the toms were going to work, but I couldn't figure out how to make the snare drum thing. And so I started with that. And once I'm like, okay, this is going to work, then I moved on to making the bridges and then into the tom toms, and that became, that was that. So like that.
All right.
So anyway, enough of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, spoken, described, and explained like a true inventor, I would say.
Wow. So I'm pretty sure that was a Bobby Rock level insult, but I'll just
Who, me? No, bro. No.
yeah. So there we go. There we go. The biggest client my company ever had, with the person that we worked for, that client, the director of operations for that company, she was a woman. She's super smart, and she always used to call me, "You're the smartest man I know," and I thought that was a genius insult. So I thought that was a genius insult.
I had to jump back in, but my question about that is, can you tell me about the correlation as far as you and John Douglas and how that became?
John Douglas is actually a childhood friend. We went to different high schools, but his band used to play at our high school sometimes. And we knew each other since like 10th, 11th grade. He might have been a year older than me. one grade up. So we knew each other. We were friends back in high school. We kind of kept it. We've been friends ever since. I mean, he's one of my best friends actually. So I of course knew that he'd been doing these killer paint jobs through the years. He started doing it way back then for his own kits. And I just said, one of these days with the time, in fact, I almost had him do one of my sonar kits once upon a time before I caught up with Peavey. But I just figured that at some point, the timing would be right, and I'd bring him in to do a kit. And by the time I got into the Peavey situation, the whole Renaissance man thing and all that kind of started catching on. There was somebody at the marketing department at Peavey who came up with that Renaissance man thing and integrated into some of the early marketing and all that. Because I was always a fanatic about Michelangelo and Da Vinci and that whole era and that whole ethos and whatnot. So just somehow or another, I go, that's it, man. I'm going to bring John Douglas in. We're going to do a kit on that theme. And we talked about it, but I really handed it over to him and let him, take it and run with
and
it.
I remember. So you said that, and you had a friend who wanted to paint a kit. Well, it costs money to paint a kit anyway. So the concept would be like, we just build them, make a drum, take it through sanding, put it in a box, and ship it to California. Except then we got the invoice,
Right.
and it was like a car. It's like, I think we could have bought a car with what that cost. So,
I mean, but was it? I don't want to say it publicly, but I have a number in mind that was, it was pricey, but anyway, yeah, I would imagine we start adding all the logistics and the shipping because we went.
But on the other, you're right, it's
it.
priceless. I mean, Ron. I mean, for those, everyone's either seen a picture of it or seen it in like that, and it's nuts. I mean, it's undescribable. It's one of those things. Unless like he just held it up. Unless you have it, unless you're looking at it, you can't get your head around how amazing it is. And tell everybody, your childhood friend who is a painter, tell him what his day job is now.
Playing drums for Aerosmith. Is that the day job you're talking about? Well, John Douglas
yeah.
always been. He was a great drummer, but he kind of fell into drum teching. He was Alex Van Halen's tech for the last 20 some odd years of Van Halen. He was ZZ Top for a lot of years. More recently, Bon Jovi. I mean, he works with all these different people, and he was Kramer's tech for Aerosmith, and that's kind of like how he kind of fell into that gig when there were some issues with Joey's health and blah 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 blah, a whole other backstory. But so he's a great drummer and also an unparalleled artist and drum painter. Guitars, he does everything.
Really cool. I see David Koresh is on this call. That's kind of cool. And not every day you get to talk to David Koresh. So
that's not my guy, is it?
The
is that Steve?
Yeah. So go ahead and
David Koresh, aka Steve, from the East Coast.
So he just went away.
Oh,
we called him out and he ran. So I don't know. So
I had a drum student in the early 90s who looked like David Koresh. I mean, literally, when all that was going down, this was a cult figure and some crazy shit happened.
He's back. David's back. Sorry,
David. I don't see his picture. Is this Steven from Baltimore?
If you start talking,
it may not be him. I don't know.
No, he's trying to talk to us. I'm trying to make sure that I think I see you as muted, David. If you could hear us, you need to unmute your sound. Okay. I'm leading his rips. He's trying to. Whatever.
There he goes. Yeah.
There we go. All right. Here's David Koresh.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, 30 years of working at Verizon. Can you hear me now? How you doing, Bobby?
What's up, my man? That's funny.
Hey, it's great to see you. I got something here that I've been listening since this started, and you were talking about summer of '94 going to Peavey. I remember my last drum lesson with you was in May of '94.
Oh wow!
And you were just putting together your 4 bass drum sonar kit in your practice space. And I just pulled this out of my bookshelf. I took lessons from Bobby for about 2 years out in LA when I moved out there. And Christmas of '93, one of my lessons, he goes, "Man, you need something I'm working on." And he gave me this.
Oh, yes.
This is your very first copy of your book.
The one that the publisher sent me, probably, huh? Wow.
Right. It even had the blank CD in it.
Interesting.
So I still have this, still use it with my students.
Nice.
Great book, man.
Cool.
And so yeah, David Koresh. I thought you'd recognize that.
Yes, sir, man. How could I forget it? There was a thing where this guy was all over the news, and there was like this big fire. That was the fire thing, right? In
yeah, it was Waco, Texas.
Waco. That's right.
That was the very week I moved from Maryland to Los Angeles, driving across the country while that was going on.
Right.
And yes, when I had my big glasses and Bobby Rock type hair, then I was a dead ringer for David Koresh.
And weren't you approached by like the National Enquirer or somebody they wanted to take a photo of you?
Yep, I was in National Enquirer, the Globe magazine, and I was on the Lisa Gibbons show.
Wow.
For being a lookalike.
Like your life had become unmanageable, quote unquote, because everybody thought you were him.
Are we gonna have to get a release signed? I didn't realize that I was bringing in somebody really famous. I didn't realize this is gonna cost me a lot of money here. I didn't understand that. So, okay.
Yeah, that just don't call me Maurice.
All right, there we go. Cool. All right, man. Thanks
for seeing you, brother.
And I love Bobby. I've always stayed in touch with him through social media and stuff. And, it's great to see this tonight and hear about it. And,
cool, bro.
Great meeting you, man.
If you haven't seen my pictures, I'm playing a huge sonar kit these days.
Yes.
So.
Badass.
All right, brother.
Hey, Ron, can we bring Ron in for a minute? We got to get Ron's, so can Ron unmute? Say hi.
Hello.
There we go.
Where's my man?
How's it going?
We've had some correspondence before, my man. What's happening?
Yeah, good memory.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. When you go join the Peavey Facebook page?
I need to get my ass over there, I guess, man. It's been, you guys just started last month though, right? I'm kidding.
Oh, hell no.
I'm joking.
No, I forget how many people are on there, but it's grown quite a bit.
Cool.
And you're represented on there a lot.
Nice. Well, you guys know that in anything, any kind of solo related stuff I do or practice room stuff or whatever, I mean, that monstrous kit I have is obviously based around that last Peavey kit, that the chameleon paint job kit. I've just added different stuff to it, and it just kind of evolved through the years. But that 40 drum 360 design kit is largely built around that last kit, that purple kit.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. That kit's not big enough for you, so you had to add drums to the chameleon kit. You had to get it up to 40 drums. So sorry we didn't make it big enough for you there, Bobby. Sorry we failed you.
So yeah, I love them, man. They sound killer.
There you go.
Obviously.
You got any more questions, Ron?
John Douglas seems to not have been a big fan of the Peavey drums. Do you think you know why, or?
I don't know. I mean, I know that he loved painting them because there wasn't any hardware on the shells, but I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't recall any real discussions I've had with him about any misgivings or, I mean, maybe he's more of a
John Douglas one that painted it.
What's that?
Yeah, John Douglas is the guy who painted it, and I have a passion for the Peavey drums. It was just a favor to you, I guess, or a job.
It's what now?
Was it a favor for you or for him?
Oh no, I mean, well, I mean, he was a friend. Yeah, it was largely a favor, but he was also, it was a job, it was a gig. We wanted him to do the drums. He loved painting them because there was no hardware obstructing the shell. Wow. What's that?
Yeah, and I remember. I always thought he was great. We got along great. And a few times I met him, and then we hired him at Peavey to make
guitars, right?
Do a run of Wolfgang's for the NAMM show. I don't know how many. Let's say there are 2 dozen of them.
Was alive.
I owned one for a while. I owned one of the custom Wolfgang's, and it was I don't know. We always got along, so I don't know if he didn't dig them.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're not for everybody. They're an acquired taste. They look very non-traditional, so it probably wasn't his favorite kit to do. But it wasn't. We didn't have to, it was. I think he enjoyed painting them because, like I said, there was no hardware obstructing the shell, so he had like these blank canvases on all the drums to paint. So it was all good, and I think he probably liked the way they sounded. I mean, the way they drum sound is pretty undeniable. I mean, if you like resonant sounding, Gretsch slash DW, whatever, the thin maple shells like that, man, these are the ultimate examples of that, and then some. So,
There also could be, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but we were an inch away from getting Alex Van Halen. Alex played the Peavey drums in a "Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do" video. It's a 4-hour Zoom call to explain how Alex came an inch away from things. But then Alex has played Ludwig forever, and so the guys at Ludwig were not very happy with that whole deal. And and with Johnny working with Ludwig, maybe do it with working with Alex and all, maybe that was a thing. I have no idea, but anyway,
who knows? Yeah, man.
Exactly, who knows? So, got it. We were going to do this for an hour. We're kind of over. I got a note that the chat. I don't know. I'm using our count. We have a capacity for 100. I don't know why chat's saying it had too many people for chat. I'm not sure if chat's working. Maybe if you got chat capability, maybe slide a couple last questions in. Bob, you got anything you want to kind of wrap up with, or anything?
I got a question for Bobby.
Yes.
Yeah, what's up, Bobby? You good?
What's going on? How are you, my man?
Good.
All right. That from. All right. Nice.
So, how you been? How's Kari?
Everybody's good, brother.
Good. And
got your collection here?
Yeah, Toy Story.
All right, my man. Cool.
And so yeah, I'm just curious, like, how did you get involved, like, with Mark Slaughter and everything?
Well, Mark Slaughter was the singer for the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. When we did the first record with Vinnie, we had Robert Fleischman on board. By the time the record was done and we were getting ready to do all the promotional for it, there was some sort of a contractual dispute between Robert and the rest and the management or whatever. I always got along fine with Robert. So it was, a case of the record was released. We were going to be hitting the road and we didn't have a lead singer. So Dana had worked with Mark Slaughter from Vegas. He brought him out to LA. He joined the band. He fit like a glove, so to speak. And the rest is history. He stayed with us the entire time for Vinnie Vincent, and of course left with Dana to start Slaughter 3 years later, So
okay. Any chance they met Lita and everything, or
what's that?
They met Lita?
Oh yeah. We all travel in the same circles. So I play with Lita Ford now. For those of you who don't know,
I know.
And so yeah, we're on the road. We run across all a lot of our compadres from the era doing shows together and crossing paths for sure.
Okay. And so, I want to say it was great. It was great meeting you for the first time. Tell Kari I said hi. Okay.
You got it, my man.
Cool, Brandon.
Hope he's doing well.
Cool, brother.
Thank you. Cool. Right, all right. Thanks for doing that. Hey, John Anning, you got anything to kind of wrap up with all the John Anning wisdom of the day? Do we still have John Anning? We might not have John. We went past the hour. We might. I know John's had a lot going on. So, all right, we lost John. So there we go. All right. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for coming. Bobby, you got anything else to kind of throw out there?
This is something that, so Stephen Volpp and I, man, we're buds. We go back decades. We talk regularly and all that. And this was something that he invited me to do just last week, just kind of like on a whim. Let's focus on that era. There's still so I know the theme has kind of been the Peavey days and the Peavey drums and all that. But I appreciate all you guys dropping in on us here, man, and hanging. Popping in. It's been a lot of fun reminiscing. FYI, one of these days, my next memoir will be ready. And in that memoir, I really go all the way deep into that era. My first book, the first memoir, I should say, The Boy's Gonna Rock, is focused on the 80s and the Vinnie Vincent days with a little bit of other stuff. But I always wrote that with the intention that I would dedicate its own book to the 90s and the clinic tours and the struggles and all of that. So a lot of these details that we talked about tonight, I've already written about in great detail. It's quite a story. It was quite an era, and it's always fun to kind of revisit, the way things were, and how different things were back then and how things have evolved now and all of that. So I appreciate you guys dropping in on us tonight. Now,
is there an ETA on that?
There's,
put a little pressure on you?
the truth is, in Bobby Rock world, there's never an ETA on anything, man. I mean, it's just now
well, that's okay because you're going to live forever, right?
Well, that's what I always say, man. My pep talks to myself is basically centered around one central theme, which is don't die. Okay, look in the mirror. You can't die. I got so much shit in the queue right now, and books and records.
Well,
And
I remember one of the things Bobby told me early on. It's funny what you remember of people, but diet, food, working out. 30 years ago, it wasn't such a thing, right? It wasn't such a thing. Okay. I mean, I was eating healthy. I was eating Life cereal. It was Life cereal.
Yeah.
Just a box of sugar, but no one talked about, they talked about it. But you told me that every mammal lives to, was it 10 times the age of sexual maturity? Is that
That's right? Every mammal except humans live to 10 times the age of their sexual maturity. So humans, by definition, should have a lifespan of roughly 120 years. Now, the difference being that humans as mammals live adventurously and live in parts of the world where it's harder to stay alive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But our capacity, when you adhere to the body's natural regulatory mechanisms of the kind of food it's really designed to eat, and the movement, and all the other many, many things that are foreign in our culture, we have the capacity for quite a lifespan.
I known you like 2 weeks and you told me that.
Well, that's what everybody's like, plant-based this, plant-based that, Beyond Burgers, this and that. Now it's coming mainstream, but 30 years ago, 35 years ago, when I first, jumped off the cliff with this lifestyle, this shit was foreign, man. Especially if you walk into a gym and say you're vegan, and nobody thought, well, are you crazy? Where do you get your protein from? So that's another call, though.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's cool. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up. I love everybody's time and like that.
Right on. Appreciate it, man.
The fact, I was 19 when I got this idea. I'm 60 years old now. The fact that somehow I help make people, they make drums make people happy. I go into the Peavey thing. You got to join that. I got to tell you, you got to join. You got to join that. And I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link to it, and then one of the like Ronald, somebody. It's a private thing. Ronald will let you in. There you go.
Will I be approved? Will I be able to get in?
I'm admin on there.
Okay, you'll let me in though.
I'll put you as a group expert like Steven.
Steven said I had to send him $100 or some kind of an entry fee that he'd make sure that you got it if I send him the money. Does it cost to get in?
Yeah, it's $100. Yeah, it's $100. It's $100. There you go.
You kid. Bobby, let me throw something at you real quick.
Yeah.
You consider doing a drum clinic in Memphis Drum Shop with your old Sistine drum kit.
Would I consider it? Yeah, I'd be open to the concept. It'd be a matter of scheduling and logistics and all those things, but that could be interesting.
I'll get back with you.
All right, yeah.
I've spoken to Carl, and I've spoken to Bill Frazier at Memphis Drum Shop.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
That could be interesting.
Thank you for your consideration, sir.
Right on, man.
Wow. Yeah, I think I might have to show up for that one. So
right,
that would be pretty sweet. So
bunch of Peavey people there.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
And I want to apologize. You guys wanted me to come to Memphis for Peavey Palooza. I can't remember what we had going on at work, but I was like, I chose work instead of go. I still regret that. I really miss that. I really screwed up. I want to apologize to you guys because I should have came to that, and I'm sorry I didn't.
Well, me and Ron have been talking about doing another one for quite some time, so maybe we can put something together in the next year or so and make it all happen for everyone.
Oh yeah, that would,
because I think we're approaching a little over 600 Peavey fanatics. So
nice,
in a world of a lot of people, that's not very much, but in the world of Peavey drums,
right on, man,
it's a bunch of dudes.
And another thing is, like, I want to say this right, so it don't sound like I'm being negative to anything, but in the whole history of Peavey, there's no other product that has this. Like, there's no, X amplifier, X guitar, on all the Peavey products, none of the other Peavey products are being celebrated tonight like this. It's a weird thing.
Right.
I mean, like, this is the one product, when I remember Peavey Palooza did it, people asked me like, well, Peavey's doing that. Peavey's, I mean, no. Peavey's not doing anything. Like, these guys are doing this. This is the passion they have. They're spending their money. They're putting kits in cars and driving from all over America to come up there, and like, no one's getting paid. No one's getting anything. No one's getting like that. But I just want to meet you guys. The energy, like, just what it does to my guts, the fact that you guys are doing this. Every once in a while, I just dive into that page and scroll around. Those Star Wars kits just cracked me up. Like, all that, and it's just, everybody's having fun. And I'm so thankful. I don't know. I don't, it's the coolest part. Like, people are happy. People play these and it makes them happy. And like, I don't want to say like I did a thing. I don't want to sound like an asshole, but like, the joy it gives me, the fact people love these things. And then, I meet Bobby, and Bobby grew up with John Douglas, which makes a cysteine kit, and now, that's his prized possession of all, like, who knew this was going to happen like that. And I'm very blessed, Bobby. I mean, you said we talk all the time. We really do. I mean, every few days we talk. We haven't in 30 years, we haven't gone more than a week of talking, like, how the hell did that happen? Where, I don't deserve Bobby Rock to be my friend, but he's been an amazing friend, and it's just incredible. So yeah, just the thing that happened and the energy it makes. So yeah, if you have another one, I got to come down. We got to have some coffee. We got to have a pizza. I got to meet you guys and just thank everyone for this. So anyway, I'm going to keep talking because that's what I do. And Bobby's got to shut me up because Bobby knows I'll talk all day. And we should wrap up. But anyway,
man. Thanks for coming, guys.
Well, I can safely say that between Daryl, Frank, and myself, Peavey Drums has changed our lives by a lot.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Say that about Yamaha drums or Ludwig drums, which I've had both. Peavey's made all the difference.
Nice.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, man.
I'll agree. Real quick, I was featured Modern Drummer back in June with the cysteine kit. Bobby, I just want to let you know, David Frangione talks really good about you. So I'll say hey from David. So
cool. Yeah, tell him I said hello if you talk to him.
Yes, sir. I spoke with him yesterday.
He's running MB now, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Bobby, just want to let you know, be careful out there.
You got it, bro. Always, my man.
I love you guys.
Love you, man. Cool. All right, guys. I'm out. I'm out, guys.
All right, we'll wrap it up. All right. Thank you very much, guys. All right. See ya.